Hello, folks. I recently had the opportunity to sit in on a Scratch workshop that was done online with Science North, which found to be very good. The page that you're looking at right now was one of the projects that we worked on, but what I wanted to do today was show you exactly how Scratch 3.0 and Lynx Coding match up because they're actually developed by the same developer. It's being done by the Kindergarten Media Lab out of MIT in conjunction with the folks out of Montreal. They were the ones that created Scratch in the first place, and now they've created Lynx Coding. And so I wanted to make it a little more obvious in terms of how the two of them correlate. So the project that we did yesterday, they walked us through how to create this spirograph right here with our sprite, the cat. First thing that I did was I went down here and I clicked on my backdrops. And if you go to your backdrops, you see it brings up this entire window here. I'm just clicked on one and it immediately put it into the box for me. I also went in, added in a cloud just to give it a little more features, but it's basically a click and drop. I then use my blocks from the sections that I have over here. And you'll notice some of the blocks that I have is my first control button was when I click on the green flag, all of these things are going to happen. They have in Scratch 3.0, which is brand new, a new feature. If you click on the extensions, you'll see that there are several different things that exist there now. And one of which is the pen down, pen up, stamp, erase all feature. And you can change the color and those types of things. This is where it really corresponds well with Lynx because these blocks actually come from what they developed in the Lynx coding, which we're going to see in just a minute. So when I look at the instructions that I have here, it starts off with erase all. I want to go to my origin point. So my sprite moves right to the center of my screen at 0, 0. It's pointed in the direction of 90 degrees. So I want to make sure in this case, my sprite is pointed in that forward position. And then I put the actions on. I do my pen down first. I then have it repeat in a couple situations, but what it's doing is it's turning 120 degrees and it's moving 80 steps. So this line is considered to be 80 steps long. And when it got to the end of the line, it turns 120 degrees, makes an 80-step line again, turns 120 degrees, makes an 80-step line again. And so when we think about that, 120 with 120 with 120, that gives me my 360 that I have to have for a polygon, and it's made a triangle. So I make that triangle, I'm repeating that 10 times, but at the end of the triangle, I'm turning 30 degrees to change it, the angle of the next triangle just slightly, and as a result, I'm creating the spirograph. And then finally at the end, I lift my pen to kind of mark the end. And so that's what the blocks are. However, for all of this, if you'll notice, all I'm doing is I'm simply dragging them over. And so I can drag this over, I put it in place, and that's it. And it will do the commands because I didn't want to do that. So we'll put that one back in there. I'm going to delete that block out of there, and so on. So the difference here is this is what we know as visual programming, where I'm just dragging the blocks over. The code is actually embedded within the block already. When you go to Lynx, however, this is where it's kind of that hybrid aspect because I sort of have blocks, but I don't entirely have blocks. I do when I go to my clip art. Again, if you notice, I can choose a background. And so let's choose That one there says 12. But what I want to do in this situation is I actually need to program, I want to code in that background. And so the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to type in the command set shape, or actually I can just leave it as set-ish. I'm going to put in 12 to represent that number. I forgot, I got to get my turtle first. I create a new page and don't have my turtle yet. So I'm going to do that. Okay. It actually wants me to put the turtle in from there. There we go. So at this point, I'm going to put in, again, that set shape 12. I'm going to change my turtle to that background. And there we go. I'm now going to put in stamp because, as we've seen before, that is dynamic. It's mobile. It can move around. I don't want to move it around. I want it to stay in place. And so I have two of them now. I have one static one. I have one dynamic one. And now I want to put in set shape 0. I got my turtle back. So my turtle's moving, and I've got a static background. At this point, this is where I'm actually going to start putting in my commands. So if I look here, I've got my background, I've got my sprite. Now I'm ready to do my commands. Well, what I've done is, because I don't have blocks, I actually had to type out the procedure. And so what I've done is I start off and I put in, as we saw in our earlier lessons, how to do a procedure, put in 2 to signify this is a command. I gave it a title of my triangle, and then I followed the instructions that are contained within here. I'm turning the 120 degrees. I'm moving the 80 steps. I'm going to repeat the 10. I'm going to then turn 30 degrees, and I'm going to repeat that 12 times. And so the way I've accomplished that is, again, using that pen down feature, as we see here. I'm simply going in the same order. So there's pen down. I do my repeat. In this case, I'm calling it 360 because I need to create the complete triangle. There are different ways of doing this. This just happens to be the one that I use. And I've got those commands in there. Forward 80, right 120, forward 80, right 120, forward 80, right 120. So I've created my triangle off of that, which is why I've called it that. And so I'm now going to type in my command center, my triangle, and it created the triangle for me. So I've only made a single triangle though, and so what I want to do, I had a couple ways of accomplishing this, but what I want to do is I then took that triangle and I'm repeating that by creating another command, which I just called my spiral. So the other thing that I can do is I'm going to go ahead and just type in the right 30 now. And I'm going to put in my spiral. Just go right to my spiral. We'll see what happens. And there you go. I've made my spirograph in this case. Again, fairly simple one. But if I come over here and let me hit my as you can see, my spirograph here is a little bit different because I'm missing the second repeat command in here. Whereas what I've done here is I've only got the single repeat command, but it gives you a sense of how the two of them really duplicate each other, I hope. And that is why we say Lynx coding is that next step up from scratch. Both of them are based on what's known as the Logo language, which is very similar again to Python and Java. Whereas we don't have any of these features. If you were dealing with the logo language, I would actually have to program the background. I'd have to program the sprite. I'd have to program the pen down feature, all of that. So what's happened here with Lynx Coding is the MIT Kindergarten Media Group, they've given you some commands. There's actually 50 what they call primitives contained within Lynx Coding, but they don't give all of them like they do in Scratch because they're encouraging people to really develop their own programming skills and learn the different features involved with that. So hopefully that helps you see the comparison between the two, and happy programming, folks.